Okay, we'll get started. Om Shruti Smruti Purananam Alayam Karunalayam Namami Bhagavat Padam Shankaram Lokashankaram Shankaram Shankaracharyam Keshavam Badarayanam Sutra Bhashya Kritau Vande Bhagavantau Punah Punah Ishvaro Gururatmeti Murti Bheda Vibhagine Vyomavat Vyapta Dehaya Dakshina Murtaye Namaha Sadashiva Samarambham Shankaracharya Madhyamam Asmadacharya Paryantam Vande Guru Paramparam Om Sahana Bhavatu Sahanau Bhunaktu Sahaviryam Karavavahai Tejasvi Navadhitamastu Ma Vidvishavahai Om Shanti Shanti Shanti. Am I being heard properly?
Yes.
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 Good morning and good evening to everybody. So we met about 2 weeks ago and we have now been exposed to the important topic of Purushartha, basic actually. Dharma, Artha, Kama, Moksha, 4 Purusharthas. Then we, in the last class, we studied a little more about Moksha itself. And we analyzed we didn't define moksha, we defined it the class before that. But then we said moksha might be freedom from seeking itself. We saw that I cannot ever become secure by the means I know. And perhaps the possibility is that I am already secure. So it was a journey from self-non-acceptance to self-acceptance. Briefly introduced that. Then last class we saw the teaching, how Yajnavalkya began his teaching to his wife Maitreyi, where Maitreyi was already prepared. So a prepared person, a ready person is ready, and so she began asking good questions. And when good questions are asked, and if there is a person who can answer those questions, then that is when the teaching happens. That is when any teaching happens, and definitely in Vedanta, the preparedness we will study in Tattvabodha, what that preparedness is. So Yajnavalkya began by saying Atmanastu Kamaya Sarvam Priyam Bhavati. I like anything in this world for my own sake, not for the sake of anything, not for the sake of any person. This is what we studied last class. So moksha was not defined as being at a particular place at a particular time, but it was defined as freedom from seeking security itself. Is it ever possible? And the Shastra seems to give us the possibility that there is potentially such a thing. And for that, I must see myself as secure. And this is not hypnotism. This is not something where we are told something like, or it is not an attitude. Like the cup is 50% filled up and 50% empty. So they say you must look at it as 50% full, half full. Don't look at it as half empty. That is an attitude. Looking at a cup as half full or half empty is an attitude. Because the fact, both are identical. Half full is equal to half empty. So if both are identical, why should looking at it half full be better for me than looking at it as half empty? Well, attitude comes into play. My view of things in life comes into play. And look at things as though you have. I have so many things with me. Stop complaining about the things you don't have. Attitudes. These are all they're all attitudes. But the fact is half full is equal to half empty. When that fact is crystal clear, it shouldn't matter whether I say it is half full or half empty. So here moksha is not an attitude. It is not something where I must now believe. I must now believe that I am free. I must now believe that I have no problems. But I have a big list of problems. If you ask me, I can talk to you for 1 hour about all the problems I have. But now Vedanta comes and says, no, believe that you are already secure. You are the happiest person in this world. So if I begin to believe like that, then okay, that's a belief. But that belief will not last long. Because any belief can be shaken. Any belief can be shaken. So Shastram says this is something to be understood. Moksha is a discoverable fact. Discoverable fact. A fact that is currently unknown to me. We will see some examples later. And so the journey is one of, so far I have been becoming. Journey is from becoming to being. So you will see some of these words. Only after studying Vedanta, I understood some of the Meera bhajans and all, where she will say Bhavasagar. Bhavasagar. This word Bhava is a very interesting word. Perhaps the English word to be has come from the Sanskrit root Bhu. Bhava. Bhavati means to become. So I want to become a youth, I want to become a degree holder, then I want to become married, then I want to have children, then I want to have some wealth, then I want to be this, I want to be that. So life is full of becoming. So that is Bhavasagar. They describe it nicely. One word, Bhavasagar, was this ocean of becoming, this life of becoming. And that is actually called samsara in Sanskrit. Sanskrit, another beautiful word is samsara. Samsara means this life of becoming. Samsara, this samsara is huge and all. Okay, that is different. That's called world, jagat, etc. That is one meaning for samsara. But here samsara means this life of becoming. So now we are beginning to see that our journey is going from a life of becoming to one of being. Who am I? These questions will become more important. Tell me first who I am. Then we will talk about what I should become. If I have to become somebody, okay, I will become somebody. But first tell me who am I? What is my nature? Like these questions, they become more relevant now. So then we can see that moksha is the ultimate end. We saw 4 purusharthas, but moksha is the ultimate end behind dharma, artha and kama also, because we saw atmanastu kamaya sarvam priyam bhavati. So that kama I am seeking is for my sake, the artha I am seeking is for my sake, and therefore we can collapse all these 4 purusharthas into one, moksha. So we can perhaps say there is only one purushartha called moksha. But we don't say that, because we have to appreciate the basic purusharthas first. Then only we can appreciate moksha. And secondly, if moksha is the ultimate purushartha, why is it listed last? Dharma, artha, kama, moksha only they say. They don't say moksha, artha, kama, dharma. They don't say like that. So that is because moksha is not understood. It's only heard about, but it is not appreciated. But dharma can be appreciated, artha can be appreciated, kama can be appreciated quickly, without much explanation. So that is why moksha is put at the end. And so the pursuit is one of understanding this moksha. So now a question might arise. So, Jayakumar ji, if I pursue moksha, what about my family? What about all the people? What about all the activities I do? See, number one, nobody said that if you are pursuing moksha, you must forget your family. We may have had these funny ideas before, that you must give up everything. So we are only we are just scratching the surface, like they say. Just scratching the surface of moksha. Number one. Number two, hey, if I am pursuing moksha, isn't it better for the family also? One less problem in the family. One less person who doesn't complain so much. Hey, this guy is constantly reading some book or the other. He is listening to somebody every Monday morning. And at least during that time, he is very quiet. He doesn't bother everybody else. So at least that benefit is there. So the children will say, Appa, father won't be available for us for the next, our mother is not available for the next 1 hour. Great. See how many people we are making happy by pursuing moksha. So moksha has many benefits. In fact, people may be thankful also. Oh, this guy doesn't bother us these days. He has become quieter. So, okay, there are some side benefits of pursuing this particular vidya, Atma Vidya. So, we can now begin to see that something like marriage. What will happen to my marriage? This question need not arise because Atmanastu kamaya sarvam priyam bhavati. Therefore, marriage also is for my sake only. Marriage, vivaha, is a wonderful ashrama. That's why they called it ashrama. Ashrama means a place where one can relax. Vishrantim kartum. So one can relax. So the purpose of marriage is that person A can relax in the presence of person B. So look at how beautiful this is. The whole world may be judging me. You are this, you are no good, you must do better. You go to office, they will say performance reviews. And even though you have performed everything very well, they will say, oh, these are the areas where you must improve. This has not worked out well. Judgment is always there. However good my friend is, there is always judgment involved. So, but in this whole world, I need only one person. Look at this. Only one person has to tell me that you are okay. You are all right the way you are. You don't have to change. You don't have to change your looks. You don't have to change your language. I love you and like you the way you are. So that's the beauty of marriage. When somebody says that, I can relax. I don't have to make a show of myself. Just I can relax. That's why home is a place we all can relax. We can be who we are. We don't have to pretend. Everywhere we go, we have to put some kind of a pretense. So, ashrama, vivaha, this particular grihastha ashrama is a ashrama. It's a place where we grow. So, and of course, in our Vedic marriage also, the Saptapadi is there. Saptapadi means 7 steps. Most important step in a Vedic marriage is Saptapadi. And 7 steps of walking together as friends. It's amazing how the Vedic marriage says that these two are coming together as friends, not as one person dominating over another person, one person taking care of other. It's not like that. Friends, Maitri Bhava. So that's a big topic. And so marriage is a means, it cannot be an end. That is what we want to appreciate now. If marriage is an end, then all marriages will end. Because even if you say 2 people are going to live long, hey, somebody is going to pass away sometime. So one person is going to remain unmarried for a while at least. That means, what do you say? Do you say marriage is ended or what? No, we won't say that. Marriage is a means. If it is a means, then every marriage can be wonderful. Every marriage can serve a purpose. So marriage is a means. And with Vedanta, I can appreciate it even more. So, if the fundamental problem that the human being faces, that I think myself to be insecure while I am not insecure at all, if that fundamental problem is not understood, then the Shastram says that my life is wasted. In fact, the Shastram uses a different word for it. Also here the Brihadaranyaka Upanishad says that Ya Atmanam Viditva Asman Lokat Praiti. Asman Lokat Praiti. One who departs this loka, this world. One who departs this world. Departs this world how? Ya Atmanam Viditva. Having understood Atma. Saha, he or she, uses a word called Brahmana. Saha Brahmana. Look at that different definition of Brahmana altogether. We may not have heard this definition of Brahmana. We've been thinking Brahmana means a particular type of person born in a particular type of family, doing a particular type of thing, etc. Yes, that's a different definition of Brahmana. But here in Vedanta, we are not interested in that definition, a role-based definition. Here, very crystal clear, Upanishad says, one who knows Atma, one who knows Brahman is Brahmana. Then the Upanishad says one more thing. What about the person who departs this world without knowing Atma? Ya Atmanam Aviditva. Aviditva means having not understood. Ya Atmanam Aviditva Asman Lokat Praiti Sa Kripanaha. Upanishad uses the word Kripanaha. Kripana means miser, kanjus. What is this kanjus business? Who is a miser? One who has something, one who has wealth, but one who is unable to spend that wealth either on others or on oneself. That person is a miser, obviously. So here, the Shastram considers this buddhi as a wealth. And we saw that earlier when we compared animals to human beings. The only distinguishing factor or the main distinguishing factor, the most important factor is buddhi. Buddhya vihinaha pashubhis samanaha. We saw that before. If bereft of this mind, bereft of this intellect, I am equivalent to an animal. So, I have been given wealth called buddhi and I have not used it and I have died. That means what? I am a miser. Not using what is given to me. So, sakripanaha. So, as far as the Shastram is concerned, my life is wasted if I have not understood the fundamental problem. I have not understood the purpose of my life. Therefore, now if we can chart our journey, we started by saying, I am insecure. That is the conclusion made universally by every human being. So I am insecure. Number two, therefore I must seek security, artha, and I begin seeking security. Then, and karma, you can add karma to that also. Then I begin to discover that life is passing by and I am still as insecure as I was before. And if this continues for some more time, I don't see any chance of my becoming fully secure. So I begin to see that this artha and kama are fleeting. Fleeting means just coming and going. Then I begin to see that artha cannot make me secure. That is the fourth step. Even though artha is called security, that security cannot make me secure. Then I begin to sense the possibility that perhaps I am already secure. thanks to Vedanta, it introduces that possibility. And then finally, if I am already secure, then the only possibility is I don't know that I'm secure. And so I reduce the problem to one of ignorance. Ignorance of a basic fact. A very important fact. So I have started the journey with saying I am insecure. Now I have come down to a point where I can say, I am secure, I must know I am secure, and I must find a way to remove the ignorance of that fact. So that is how much we have learned in the last few classes. When the topic of knowing comes, then the question of means of knowing, how do you know something? That question becomes important. When we study physics, mathematics, etc., sciences in school or college, we keep on studying. We never go to the teacher and ask them, Professor, how does knowing occur? How does a human being come to know something? This kind of fundamental question we don't ask. We ask a question particular about that subject. Why is chlorophyll green in color? Can chlorophyll give some other color? If chlorophyll is green, why are there some yellow leaves and brown leaves? So these kind of questions we can ask. But we never ask about the process of knowing, etc. But in Vedanta, this question becomes fundamental. So the means of knowing is called pramanam. We are introducing another word now. It's called pramanam. We introduced a few words earlier called purushartha, dharma, artha, kama, moksha. Now another word is being introduced called pramanam. Prama means knowledge. Prama, knowledge. Pramanam, means of knowledge. So we talk about two basic means of knowledge. A child is born, it knows nothing. It starts from absolute zero knowledge of anything. It begins to know a few things soon after it's born. It knows what pain is. And it knows what freedom from pain is. That's all it knows. It knows means what? It experiences. It can't verbalize anything. And I am happy now, I am contented now. I am experiencing pain now, and the only way I know to express it is by crying. This is all the child knows. It doesn't know that there is a father, there is a mother. It doesn't know that this person who is holding me, even that it may not know that somebody is holding me. Or maybe it knows, okay, somebody is holding me now and somebody dropped me on something and it is not warm anymore. So these things it begins to know. Slowly it begins to know some objects, apple, pen, etc., etc. Then it begins to talk and run and gives a lot of joy to everybody around, and sometimes some pain also. So it begins to know. How does it learn all this? Two basic means. First one is called perception. 5 senses. Perception through the senses in Sanskrit is called pratyaksham. Pratyaksham. That means I can perceive something. I see an object in front of me with my eyes. It's directly available for my perception. If I don't see something, then I can't say that I saw something. My eyes have to fall on that object. Like that, I have 5 sense organs, and these sense organs fall on their respective objects, and they reveal something to me. They reveal colors, they reveal shapes, they reveal various types of touch, heat and cold, tastes, etc. We are familiar with this. So this is one of the primary means of knowledge, pratyaksham. And the other means of knowledge is called inference. Inference. So a friend comes, visits you. Suddenly, friend visits you at 4 o'clock in the afternoon. You know, when I went to America, one of the things I learned is this afternoon evening business. So afternoon for us in India goes on for a while, and then evening starts at a particular time. But in America, this afternoon evening stretches differently. Evening can be much later also, 7 o'clock, etc. Here when we say night, there they will say evening. So your friend arrived at 4 o'clock, and you can make an inference that the person already had lunch. So if there is a slight doubt, you might ask, hey, are you sure you had lunch? Okay. So inference, you make an inference that the person had lunch. Inference based on what? You didn't see the person having lunch. Nothing. No pratyaksham is involved. You make an inference that the person must have had lunch. Therefore, you ask the person, will you have coffee? Let's have some biscuits. You offer biscuits. You don't give a big thali of lunch for a person who comes to your home at 4 o'clock. Inference. Inference is made. You make some, let's make something and eat. Some tiffin you might make. But you don't make a 5-course meal for this person. Inference. You smell smoke and immediately you look around. And why? Inference. Because somewhere there is some logic in this mind called Vyapti, which says whenever there is smoke, there has to be fire. There is no smoke without fire. So inference. So inference plays a very big role in our life. Very big role. You call somebody and the person doesn't respond. Then you might make an inference. Okay, the person has left. He must have left to buy these things in the shop. Inference. So this inference is in Sanskrit is called anumanam. It is called anumanam. Two main means of knowledge. There are a few other things, but this is the two we are going to refer to at this point. Pratyaksham, anumanam. So with pratyaksham and anumanam, I have gathered so much knowledge. For so many years, I gathered so much knowledge. The question for this person who is studying Vedanta becomes, can I use perception and inference to know Atma? Because Shastra claims Atma must be understood. Jnatavyam. In Upanishad, the same Upanishad, somewhere else it says, Atma must be understood. So if Atma must be understood, then can I use these means of knowledge? Then we say that Atma is the perceiver. Atma is the one who makes inferences. Atma is the one behind everything I do. Like the eyes are able to see, if the eyes ask the question, hey, Jayakumar, I have been helping you see so many things for the last so many decades. I have a request. I have a simple request. I want to see myself. I've seen so many things in this world. I've been to so many places, this waterfalls and this night sky and eclipse. Eclipse is going to happen this coming Friday. So eclipses, I've shown you so many places. I've shown you big oceans. But one thing I want to see. I want to see myself. I have not seen myself. So this eye has a unique problem now. And so we say that Atma also is similar. Atma cannot be seen. Atma cannot be appreciated by Pratyaksham and Anumanam. For now, we will just say that and leave it. Further analysis is there. But we know you cannot know yourself through Pratyaksham and Anumanam. So, but if I ask the question, do you exist? If I ask the question, do you exist? Then you have to say, you will be forced to say, I suppose, I exist. You can't say, wait a minute, let me ask my wife and tell me, and let me find out, do I exist? You can't say that. You can ask your wife or husband for a lot of things, yes. But if I ask you, do you exist? Then, yes, I exist. That I know. But who is this who exists, if I ask? Then each of us is giving different variety of answers. I am this, I am that. And finally, I am sad, I am happy, I am subject to so many things, sorrow, happiness. I am subject to death finally. I am afraid that I am going to die anytime. So all these fears are there. So I made so many conclusions. So that I cannot be known through Pratyaksham and Anumanam. And we have seen, of course, that ignorance is there. And ignorance can be dispelled only by one thing. Just like darkness can be dispelled only by one thing. If the room is dark, I cannot shout, hey, come on, become bright. It won't work. Or I cannot blow some air for brightness to happen. There is only one way to get brightness into this room. And that is by introducing that which is opposed to darkness. By introducing that which is opposed to darkness. Remember, nothing is opposed to darkness except light. And so we turn on the switch and that makes the room bright. Likewise, if ignorance has to be removed, then there is only one thing that can remove ignorance, and that is jnanam, knowledge. Nothing else is opposed to ignorance, only knowledge is opposed to ignorance. So, some other few things we have to mention as we go along. Can I not stumble upon this knowledge? Etc. Those questions will come. Accidentally, I discovered Atma. That question might come. So they say, Swamiji used to give this example. Alexander Fleming invented penicillin, we say. Fleming invented penicillin. And the story is that he was growing some bacteria in his lab and he was trying to grow it and it never grew. See, I got a master's in biotechnology. I spent a lot of time growing bacteria in the lab. They have something called a Petri dish. So in that dish, which has a lot of nutrients, you put drops of this liquid, which has that bacteria, and you put, say, 20 drops. And then the next day you come and look at it. You can see small white things where the bacteria is multiplied. So like this, Fleming was trying to grow bacteria and he had grown at some time. So he's just trying to grow it again. He knows how it will be. And this time he found nothing was growing. Waited 1 day, 2 days, nothing was growing. Then he found out that if I was growing, I might have said, bad luck, try next time. And I may clean and grow it again and maybe wait for the time when it grows. But Fleming was not like that. Fleming said, wait a minute. Why did my bacteria not grow? Then he started looking into that petri dish through the microscope and he found out some other fungus was growing. And he started analyzing that fungus. And that fungus was producing a substance. And that substance is what we call today as penicillin. So look at that. Fleming was not trying to invent antibiotic. There was no word called antibiotic at that time. His research was something else. But the antibiotic was invented accidentally. But even that accident, for Fleming to invent penicillin, the situation showed up, but he had to still use his knowledge to make something out of this situation. Somebody else might say, I might have said, it's my stars. My stars are not aligned. I've been trying to grow this and it has not been growing. Like that, I may say and walk away. So situation unfolds. What do I make out of that situation? That is the question. So Fleming made something out of it. And so serendipity, they use a beautiful word in English. It's called serendipity. Serendipity means accidental discovery. And so can Atma be accidentally found out? And Shastram says, you can stumble upon certain situations accidentally. Like you attended a Vedanta class somewhere. Your friend said, hey, come on. Every day we are just going shopping, doing nothing. Look, there is one Swami that is visiting. And so many people are going and attending his talk. 6 o'clock evening. Come, let's go, he says. And you say, Arey, chalo yaar, okay, let's go. And you just end up in this talk at some Bharati Vidya Bhavan or Ramakrishna Mission Mutt somewhere. And you heard this talk and you tell your friend at the end of the talk, my God, this is so fascinating. Accidental. You did not look for it. But accidentally you get something and you start pursuing this. And suddenly 2 years later, your desk is full of all these Vedanta books. Atmabodha and Tattvabodha and this Bodha and that Bodha is there on your desk. So accident, we don't consider serendipity itself as a pramanam. Situations can be accidental, but something has to be made out of every situation. So like this, you have pramanam. And so the question becomes, what is that pramanam? If pratyaksham and anumanam cannot help me, then there must be some means of knowledge. What is that pramanam? So we have analyzed something called pramanam, called means of knowledge, which is required for knowing anything. then we are saying that for this, for removing the ignorance of myself, I need some other pramanam. And that other pramanam is called the Vedas. So, Veda pramanam, they will say, it's very commonly said, Veda pramanam. Or they will say, Shabda pramanam. Or they will say, Shastra pramanam. These words are used very commonly in our culture, in any language. And like in that example I gave you, the eyes are asking me, please help me, I want to see myself. I'm eager to see myself. Now, there is one way to see these eyes, and that is by going to a mirror. Stand in front of the mirror, that is the only time I can see my face, I can see the eyes. And so there is a means of knowledge which basically shows you who you are. That is the job done by this pramanam, by this mirror. And so when we say Vedas is a Shabda pramanam, what we mean is through words, Shabda means words, through words, the Veda is revealing to you your own nature. It is revealing to me my own nature. So you can say it is like a mirror of words. Mirror of words. So Shabda Pramanam. And of course, at this point, we believe that Veda is a Pramanam. Because I don't know anything about the Vedas. I don't know anything about this Vedanta. I don't know anything about Atma. So at this point, I have to believe that Veda is a Pramanam which will reveal my nature to myself. And this word belief is now called, I'm going to introduce a word called Shraddha. Shraddha. I have Shraddha in the Shastram. I have a Shraddha that the Vedas will deliver the goods. I have Shraddha that what I'm looking for can be found in the Vedas. Shraddha. So if you ask me what is Shraddha, we will say Shraddha means a belief pending verification. Shraddha is a belief pending verification. Note that very clearly. Not a blind belief. Pending verification means I believe in the Vedas, and in this life, as I am alive, the Vedas has to prove itself to me. Then that process happens by what I call Shraddha, belief pending verification. Okay, so that is Shraddha. We will cover Shraddha also a couple of more times a bit later. Now, quickly, what is this Veda? What is the topic of the Veda? Let's talk about a few topics. The Veda talks about Swarga, commonly called heaven. Swarga. Swarga means heaven. Heaven means what? A picture has been painted for us. Kailasa is there. Shiva is sitting in Kailasa. That's one type of heaven. Vishnu is sitting in Vaikunta. A picture has been painted. Indra is sitting in Indraloka. Indraloka is a beautiful place. A picture has been painted. The Vedas only talks about it, and it talks about it very seriously also. It's not a joke. So we believe in it. But the belief in Swarga cannot be proved. Means you cannot prove the existence of Swarga. You cannot disprove the existence of Swarga. Okay? Example one is Swarga. Another example I will give. Shastram, Veda says, there is something called Punya and Papa. Called as Karma. Karma means Punya and Papa. It says, I have something called Punyam. It says, I am born of Punyam and Papam both. I am a Mishra. The word last name Mishra is there, especially in northern India. Mishra means one who is a combination. Mishra, mixture of Papa and Punya. So it says you have this Papam and Punyam. Can you prove it? Can you prove it? No, we all like to prove things. And unfortunately, this Papam and Punyam cannot be proved. And it cannot be disproved also. So, one way of defining what the Vedas has, one way of defining the subject matter of the Vedas is that which can neither be proved nor disproved only can be the subject matter of the Vedas. Suppose you prove something. Algebra cannot be a subject matter of Vedas because algebra can be clearly learnt by perception and inference. Everything can be proved. So you don't need the Vedas to teach us basic algebra, advanced algebra, geometry, Pythagoras theorem. All this cannot be the subject matter of Vedas. So, very interesting. In Rigveda, Bhashyam, this is how they define it. They define it like this. People know things which cannot be known through perception or inference, and people come to Vedas for that. Like that they define it in this Bhashyam. And so all this Punarjanma, Papa, Punya, then all the rituals are talked about. In fact, the Vedas is full of means for Artha and Kama. Because the Veda understands that the human being is seeking Artha and Kama. And the human being may or may not seek moksha in their lifetime. So at least the means should be given. I want children. And I am married. I am not able to have children. I have gone to doctors. I have checked with the specialists in Coimbatore, in Chennai, in Delhi. I even visited New York once. I spent a lot of money. And nobody has been able to help me. And now the Veda says, you want children? Okay, there is a way to have children. You have tried everything, not worked? Okay. There is something called Putra Kameshti Yaga. There is an elaborate ritual called Putra Kameshti. It's a very elaborate ritual. You follow it, you do it, and you do it with Shraddha, then you will have children. Popularly, we know in Ramayana, Dasharatha had this problem. He did the Putra Kameshti Yaga and he had children. So belief, if you ask me, can you prove that the Putra Kameshti Yaga will yield the result that I am looking for? You can't prove it. You can only say, hey, with Shraddha you do this ritual and then see what happens. That's all you can say. So there are things like this which cannot be proved, which are part of the Vedas. And so this Atma Vidya comes in this category. Does it come in the category where it cannot be proved? Fortunately, see, one thing is there, that I am already secure, you cannot guess it. No human being in this world can guess that I might perhaps already be free. That is not possible at all. Unless somebody introduces the idea through a book, perhaps you go to some book sale. This book fair comes someday. You have not gone to a library in a long time. You have not gone to a bookstore in a long time. And suddenly this thirst for knowledge comes, and there is a big book fair. You go there and all kinds of books are there, and you end up in this stall, and then you open a book. It's a paperback, and it says, "You are the whole." It says, "You are the whole." So what? Then you read the preface, you need the introduction, and it says, "You are the whole. You are what you are seeking. There is nothing more to seek." And suddenly it says, "Wow, what is this? You can't refute this, and at the same time you can't give up this idea." So that is how this journey starts. And so fortunately, that being a fact, it is the responsibility of the Vedas to show that, to demonstrate that. And even that is part of the Vedas, because it can't be available anywhere else. It can't be proved, and for proving something you must first guess it. And where is the question of even guessing this? Not possible. Therefore, this Atma Vidya is also part of the Vedas. And this Atma Vidya has to be independent of language, independent of the person who is studying, who is learning, who is reading. It has to be independent of the place in which one is studying. So that must be the nature of this subject matter. And we will see few more facts about this Veda and the mantras and all. I want to cover a little bit. So for now, we have studied that for everything to be understood, there is something called a means of knowledge, something which we call pramanam. And for this Vedanta, for this knowledge of the self, also a means of knowledge is required. And we said that means of knowledge is the Vedas, which is called Shabda Pramanam, which is a mirror of words. If we can appreciate it through that expression, like a mirror is able to reveal things that we cannot otherwise see. That is how we are introducing this Vedas. And we will continue this discussion again in the next class also. So what we will do now is open up for questions. The first question, of course, is was I audible throughout the talk?
Yes.
So go ahead, raise your hand if you have a question, so we can have a QA, vocal QA. Yeah, Vishnu is there. Go ahead, Vishnu.
Yeah, Shri Gurubhyo Namaha. My doubt is regarding this this point that you mentioned, that perhaps I'm already secure with regard to the path towards moksha, isn't there a risk of we negating the whole existence of the world itself? That whether this is, I mean, the complacence can seek in is one concern that I was having, because more often than not we just read some book and already feel that we are enlightened. I mean, I think does it make sense? I mean,
Yeah, exactly. So, so that's a good question. Uh, so, so two or three things. First, let's accept that yes, hypnotism. I use the word hypnotism. So I can begin to believe what is being said, which I have to believe anyway. But I can become impractical. I can start ignoring problems because Shastram says there is no problem, and so there can't be any problems. So the house is on fire, and I, instead of acting, I say there is no problem, and if fire has to come, it will come. I make these kinds of funny statements, and yes, it's possible. There is a disease, and I must take some action, and instead I make all these funny statements that there is no problem, really speaking. Child is sick, no problem, really speaking. And I begin to quote the Vedas also in support of my argument. And so this can become a nightmare for people living around this person. Impractical. Yeah, very, very true. Very true. Yes, it's possible. So, and we have seen some people, even I have seen in my life, some people who have fallen in that trap. So the way it works is, see, first of all, you can't prevent this. Let me first address that. You can't prevent it. Why? See, you look at any field of medicine, any field of knowledge, like medicine, for example. People are there, doctors are being produced. There is no guarantee that this doctor, this person who is going to come out with a degree, he is opening a shop, a clinic next door, and I am going to him. Whether this fellow has really understood medicine, whether this fellow is going to help people, whether he understands my particular disorder, all this is based on belief only. How many times we have gone to doctors without, just because they are there in the phone book, just because somebody said you go to him. This somebody said go to him is actually a very important thing, because there is some evidence, that is only evidence to you and me, that this person has the capability of addressing diseases. That's only belief. There is otherwise no possibility. So yes, that risk is always there. In India, it comes in the news all the time. You can buy degrees just like that, and it's horrible. And so yeah, the risk is always there. Any field of knowledge, this risk is there. How to minimize that risk? The systems that produce such people have to be regulated. There must be checks and balances. Even the doctors who are performing, they must be checked every 5 years. Customer reviews must be looked at. This consumer, the commission complaints and all are there. Government should look at all this and then say, hey, wait a minute. This guy has been constant chronic complaints are coming against this person. We need to look at this person. So checks and balances have to be there. So even Vedanta, same problem can be there. So then somebody has to look at this person and say, wait a minute, guy, this is Vedanta doesn't say you must give up solving problems. In fact, Vedanta is supposed to make you even more practical. When I saw the people who taught me Vedanta, I used to be amazed. These people are the most practical people. Swamiji and all, if you see, he will respond to situation just like that. He will say, yeah, come on, do that. Yes, take your son here. Yes, how are they doing? Yes, how are your relatives? I saw your uncle in Chennai. Your father had a problem. How is he doing now? So this is the way they react. They talk to people. Highly practical people. They won't talk Vedanta unless the situation demands Vedanta. So see, that is the kind of culture we are born and brought up in. So that is the true teacher, in my opinion. They don't only after dealing with situations practically, then this person begins to question, wait a minute, this is still not working out. I have dotted all the I's. I have crossed all the T's, and still I am not contented. There is something else. Then that person, Vedanta is meant for that person. Not for the person who is trying to escape problems. Vedanta can be a means of escape also. Like this person who is saying, there is no problem. Problems don't exist. And he doesn't solve problems. I met some people like this. Two or three people like this. It's impossible. It's just impossible to argue with these people. It is impossible to change that person. So yeah, that risk is there. We don't deny that risk. And that is why when somebody comes to, that is why this knowledge, like any knowledge, is not just readily available. Even any subject you take, to get a medical degree, they ask you for what have you studied. You must produce your high school degrees. You must produce your college degrees. Only then they will say, they look at all this and then only admit you. So that preparation is there. Same way, somebody who wants to learn Vedanta can be assessed very quickly whether this person is qualified or not. So these checks and balances are there. Good question, Vishnu. Yeah, Ashutosh.
So, building on that, so Vishnu ji gave that example of someone who denies that there is any problem, but there are problems. Say, what about someone who is like, say, for example, son of Ambani or son of Tata or whatever, born in a rich family, living a life of lavishness, never faced an issue in life, and going through life, getting married, running their businesses, and then like earth karma is taken care of, and so this person, he doesn't even think about something more. And we said in the beginning that ultimately Vedanta is leading us to Anandam, or like it's that perpetual state of being happy. But this person, he doesn't feel that insecurity, so he doesn't need to come to Vedanta or need to study this branch of knowledge. So and he dies in sleep, like at an older age, without seeking this knowledge, without facing insecurity ever. So what does Shastram say about that? Is it is that a good life? Is that something that is good for that person, or?
Yeah. So I have muted you now. So the Shastram provides the means for 4 Purusharthas: Dharma, Artha, Kama, Moksha. Okay. So if you look at it that way, then that person's Artha, Kama, Dharma is taken care of. No problem, and he or she goes through life. But the Shastram also says that there is such a thing called another life. This Atma is never going to perish. So unless this fundamental fact is understood, there is going to be Punarjanma. Punya and Papa, a lot of Punya and Papa is waiting to fructify. So this person is going to have another Janma, and then another Janma, and then another Janma, etc. Shastra is, okay, we are all happy. If a person can be happy in life, that's something to be celebrated. I think we should celebrate it. I would celebrate it. I would look at that person and say, hey, you know what, man, you're happy most of the time. It's absolutely amazing. You always bring a smile to my face. I'm struggling. I'm studying Vedanta and studying all these books, and even I'm struggling, and you are gifted. So I will appreciate that. I think we should appreciate that. But the Shastram does say that that kind of a life doesn't end, and there will be another birth, and that life, the great life that you described, is a result of punya. A predominance of punya will lead to that kind of a life. Now, another life can have a little more of papam in it. And if that is the case, then the life is going to be, going to be up and down. And that up and down life will come sometime. And that sometime, that person may ask the question, or will have to ask the question. So, the Shastra makes two things clear. One is, this birth, there are many births for this jiva. And it makes the second point clear, which is that only by understanding one's true nature, this journey, this repeated birth, the cycle of many births, as they say, will come to an end. So the Shastra says that and leaves it at that. And so it is not, and as I said earlier, Ya Atmanam Aviditva Asman Lokat Preti Sa Kripanaha. That person is a miser. So Mani's son also, and even I, and both are misers according to the Vedas. If I die away without inquiring into the purpose of life. So I hope that somewhat answers your question. I mean, you can't, what can you do to somebody? So, see, one more thing we must say is, Vedanta, see, knowledge always is available for anybody who wants to know. You can't knock on somebody's door and say, hey, physics is the greatest subject ever. You must study physics. You can never do that to anybody. You can never force anybody to know anything, learn anything. Not possible. So that desire has to come from oneself. And so if somebody doesn't have that desire, then they don't have the desire. And Shastra has ways to keep him happy. But Shastra does caution that, hey, this life is due to the punya that you have gained. And in this life, whether Ambani has done punyam or not, we don't know. The jury is out. And so we take care of yourself. That's what the Shastra can say. Yeah, him, Rampal.
Yeah. I have a question based on what Vishnuji asked. So, how do you prevent this complacency from seeping in? Like,
yeah. So yeah. Do you have anything else to add, or can I?
I have another question, not exactly related, but so when we learn something,
So we'll keep that question for later.
Okay,
yeah.
sure.
So the question is, how do you prevent complacency from setting in? Okay, I'll ask you, Hem. Do you like any subject?
Yeah. Sure. Yeah, I like physics, for example.
You like physics.
Yeah.
How do you prevent complacency of learning physics from setting into your life?
But
Because that risk is there. Complacency can come anytime.
yeah.
How do you prevent that from happening?
So
Here what we will say is, complacency can come only when I am not clear. Complacency can come only when there is no desire for something. So you have to walk 10, 15 minutes a day. It's good for your health, they say. I'm complacent. I'm saying tomorrow, and this happens. Complacency. Everybody is a victim of this complacency. Postpone this exercise to tomorrow. So, but those who are very clear, hey, I must, this physical health, all it takes is 15 minutes a day, and I am not going to sacrifice that. This person has to decide. That decision is what prevents complacency from setting in. So only you can prevent complacency from setting in. Vedanta cannot prevent complacency. Physics cannot prevent complacency. The science of well-being, medicine cannot prevent complacency of my not doing this vyayama for 15 minutes. Nobody can prevent. Only I can prevent complacency. So the more I appreciate any subject, the more I will pursue it. That is as simple as that. And of course, if there are, and in this, just like any subject, perhaps you must have had good teachers, physics teachers, and from somewhere, some classes, you may have been inspired. Maybe you can think of, I can think of my physics teacher in school, most inspiring person in our school. And even today, we all remember him. So something like that could have happened. And that subject becomes very fascinating, regardless of how old we grow. So those kinds of things can make a big difference in our lives. Yeah, go ahead, Him.
Yeah. So related to this, I had another question. So whenever we begin to gain some knowledge, there is always a perception which grows simultaneously that I have gained so much, and that becomes a barrier to gaining more. So how do I avoid that? And so I have noticed that this exact same thing actually leads to complacency, because once I this becomes a perception that I already know, I don't make the effort to go further. And
yeah, so see, I think those of us who in this room who have studied, etc., know very well that there is no limit to knowing. Nobody can say I know it all, and that's what makes us learn more and more. And some humility is always there. Knowledge is supposed to make us humble, not proud.
yeah.
So anybody who says I know it all, then that's the end of knowing for that person. And so we know all that. So we keep that in mind and we guard ourselves. And in fact, maybe when we study this, in many devatas in our tradition, like Dakshinamurti, we will cover it someday. The devata Shiva has somebody. Shiva is stepping on somebody like a child. Okay, you may have seen these pictures, right? Kali is dancing on some looks like a child. Wait a minute, why are you stepping on a child? Why are you stepping on this one? Like that feeling we may get. That entity that is there below the Shiva's foot is nothing but what you just said. Hey, there are all these forces that can come, like ego, aggression, pride, complacency. Let's add complacency into this list. That is what Shiva is reminding us. Hey, good, I'm glad you're on the right track. But watch out, you be alert. The alertness is always required in any pursuit, and definitely in this pursuit of Vedanta also. Okay?
Okay.
Any other questions?
Yes. Correct. I am Venkateshan.
Yeah, Venkateshanji, go ahead.
There is a saying that the more you are knowledgeable, the more you are away from Atma. Or in other words, knowledge itself is an entrance to Atma. The more you know knowledge, the more you get things, and more you deviate, and the more you go away from Atma. This is number one. Number two, why should we read so many? The moment you close your eyes and meditate that you are the Atman, you are full. You are full. Why you read so many things? These knowledges are not useful to you. These questions kindly highlight. Yes, these are all.
Sure.
Yeah.
Good questions. Good question. In fact, I had thought of mentioning that in this class, but I'm glad you asked. So this idea that the more you know, the more away you are from Atma, I have not heard it, and you are never away from Atma because you are Atma. So that is a fact. Perhaps what you mean is, the more you pursue different types of things, the further away you are never going to come to the question of what is Atma. Okay, that perhaps is what you mean. The more I pursue so many different things, the world is full of so many attractive things, and I can go after so many things. I remember when we were studying Bhagavad Gita as a group, I was driving to, weekends we get together and study. And as I was driving, I saw a big advertisement or billboard, as they say. And it said, sugarlandwinetasters.org. sugarlandwinetasters.org. So I was amused because, see, these people have earned everything. Artha is there, Kama is there, everything is there. Now, what is the next Kama I can go after? I can be a connoisseur of wines. So there is that subject also. So there's so many things to do in this world. And I can take up photography. Nothing wrong with photography. I used to love it. But I can that can consume me from morning to night. It can consume me. If that happens to me, then I am not going to be interested in Vedanta, interested in Atma. But I'm going to interpret your statement like this. And that is true. And Shastram says it very clearly. If you go after, there is something called Paravidya and Aparavidya. Aparavidya, anything we have learned so far is all part of Aparavidya. This is Paravidya. Obviously, if I go after Aparavidya, I am not going after Paravidya. What you said, therefore, is correct. The second question you asked is, hey, you already told me I am free. I am the whole. All I have to do is sit and meditate. And that's it, over. Why all this Sanskrit and Tattvabodha and Atmabodha and Viveka Chudamani and the Bhagavad Gita, which is not some small thing. It is going on and on and on and on. Bhagavad Gita never seems to end if you study. And this seems like this is too much. See, this meditation and I am the whole, if you say, then if it is not backed by teaching, then it is called hypnotism. It is called conditioning. I am conditioning myself to think that I am the whole. I am conditioning myself to think that I am perfectly acceptable to myself. It's a conditioning. So like I said earlier, we don't want to bring in another conditioning into our life. Even though this may be a good kind of conditioning, it is good to know that I am generally okay. Whenever I complain, I can remind myself, hey, don't complain after a certain point. Just take what comes. It's a very good attitude. But to know that I am the whole means meditation is not enough. Meditate on what? All these questions will arise. We'll cover these topics. And I am the whole means we have to talk about the whole world is you. Suppose I say, the whole world is nothing but you. How are you going to meditate on that? The whole world, I can't imagine the whole world anyway. We can imagine some finite things. I can't imagine the universe. And the whole world is you means what concept will I have in my mind? So, yes, meditation has a value, very important value. But something that you, suppose I say E is equal to mc square. Energy is equal to mass times square of the speed of light. Okay. Now, every morning, 1 hour, I meditate on this. E is equal to mc square. E is equal to mc square. E is equal to mc square. Now, I have meditated so much on it that anybody wakes me at any time, in the middle of the sleep also, I can wake up. And if somebody asks me E is equal to what, I'll say E is equal to mc square. But ask me to teach a bunch of college students E is equal to mc square, I will run away from that place because I don't know the fundamentals. What is E? Barely I know what E is. What is the question of E is equal to mc square and all that? Not possible. So here what Shastram is talking about is a fact. A fact is meant for understanding. Once understood, it can be meditated upon. But you don't meditate upon a fact that I don't understand. Not possible. So it's a very good topic, and we will cover it as we begin studying. And there is no rule that you must study X books, this book or that book. There is no rule. Shastram doesn't say anything like that. If you have understood it, you can walk away. Ramana Maharshi did not study any book. He may have picked up a few books, but Ramana Maharshi was prepared. Prepared means ready. Just somebody has to say, hey, you are it. There's really no death. That's it. That was enough for him. So, for him, that was enough. And later on, he looked at all these books and he validated everything. Sanskritam, Tamil books he looked at, and he also wrote some books, Upadesha Saram, etc. So that is there. And so since there is a fact to be understood, there is teaching. When there is something to be believed, then there is only preaching, and I can tell myself, I can meditate on that, something to be believed, and I can keep believing it. But here we are talking about something to be understood. And you can understand, some people can understand very quickly. Some people, it will take some time. And we don't make any judgments on this. We've already lived so many lives. And this is one of the so many millions of lives we have led. And whether I understand now or when I'm 60 or when I'm 90, it's actually irrelevant. But what we will say is, don't waste your time. This is the life where you can understand. Another life, whether I'm going to have a human body or not, also is not guaranteed. So let's use the time properly. Good question, Venkateshanji. Yeah.
These mantras, 100 times we chant, 1000 times, 1008 times we chant. For example, some mantra says, you are illuminous. Oh Narayana, I am praying you for Jyoti Surapamaga, I am praying you. I am prostrating you. So you say 108 times. That is Gayatri Mantra. 108 times I repeat 3 times in a day. Is it not self-conditioning?
Yeah, I mean, if you say, see, the purpose of those mantras is to appreciate the whole. When we look at Ishvara, when we look at Narayana, Sahasrasirsha, Purushaha, you have to visualize this being who has 1,000 heads. Why? What is this 1,000 heads business? It is a way to help us appreciate this whole world. And I am beginning to see that this whole world is nothing but Ishvara, and that Ishvara, Jiveshvara Aikyam is going to be told. So those mantras are very powerful. Those mantras take us to the whole. Otherwise, I am so caught up in the daily life, so caught up in all small petty things. There is something is needed for me to just look at the whole world, look at everything that is there that my eyes can't see. So there is a purpose for all these mantras, no doubt about that. And bhakti is needed. Without bhakti, Shraddha, I said, Shraddha and bhakti go together. So to develop that bhakti, all these mantras are there. Gayatri mantra is very powerful. Someday perhaps we will have a chance to talk about the Gayatri mantra. It is such a beautiful and practical mantra that I heard some people, children in schools in England are learning this Gayatri mantra and all that. So good, let them learn. At least if in India we are not learning, they are learning in England. Good. Some people in the world are learning. Good. I am happy about that. So yeah, so there is a purpose for all these things. And Vedanta is just a culmination of it. It looks contradictory. That's why all these questions are coming, right? Contradictory. Hey, if I am the whole, why should I do anything? No, that is not what is said. You must do everything, and we will talk about Karma Yoga and Jnana Yoga as we go along. Big topic. So you're all asking the right questions and the fundamental questions. Yeah, Haraprasad, I think you had a question.
Yes, Jayakumar. You said about the Paravidya and Aparavidya. So Para is a superior, Apara is not. Now, Para in Sanskrit also means somebody else's, like in Aparoksha Anubhuti.
Yeah. So for now, I will say that Paravidya and Aparavidya, when I use those words, I did not mean superior, inferior knowledge. It's a type of knowledge. No knowledge is superior or inferior. Every knowledge has a purpose. Aparavidya means Anatma Vidya. Any knowledge which is not of Atma is called Aparavidya. And Paravidya is Atma Vidya. When the topic is Atma, then we say it is Paravidya. That distinction is very clearly made. And that is what we mean. Yeah, Para has other meanings also. And I don't want to get into all that now. But for now, Para means the knowledge of the whole. Param. Param means complete, whole. The knowledge of me being complete. That is, the knowledge of that is called Paravidya.
What I want to know is, para does also mean somebody else's?
Yeah. Param, aparam. There are some aparam means later. Aparam means another. Param can mean later sometimes. So there are all kinds of meanings for these words. Yeah.
I see. Okay.
Yeah. So correct. Many meanings are there. And here in this context, param means only one thing.
Atma Vidya.
Correct.
Thank you.
Sure. Yeah, Prasad.
Yeah. So, since we are talking about that self, who am I mostly here? Obviously, we are not, probably we are going to read that we are not the body, mind, or sense complex. Now, I'm talking about the location of that self. Now, many times we say that you follow what it says on the head, a mind, or what your heart says. Now, according to, I don't remember the name of the philosopher, but to find out the location of that self, as you elimination process, as you go from bottom to the top, probably it is located maybe at the center, a Bhumadhya or somewhere. Now, what is the meaning of, the question is like, okay, the location, but when we talk about that what it says at heart, follow it, or what it says at the mind, you follow it. Now, there are two locations we are talking about here. So, but basically the mind, we are clear that it is at the head level, right? So that is not part of the self, which is again material here, mind. So the self, the Atma, what we are talking about, can we say that it is located at the head level? But why do we say that, okay, heart level also, okay, you follow this on a certain situation or circumstance or whatever we face with?
Yeah. So this is it's like this. If we begin to look for Atma, then Atma is a finite thing, because we are conditioned to look for things. When somebody says Pluto, then Pluto is a planet, it's the farthest planet, etc. Okay, there it is. Then somebody says car, then you have to look close by here. The car has come. Somebody says dinner, okay, dinner is served. So constantly we are looking for things. Our outlook has always been looking for things. Because anything we know is finite. If I want to learn computer science, I look for a college. And among the many colleges, I look for a particular college. So this is our outlook, is to keep on looking for things. And so now the question is, Atma is a new object that has been introduced. So far, I never looked for Atma. Now I am so interested in Vedanta. Tell me, where can I find Atma? Tell me quickly. I'm so eager to know. So, okay, I think we are conditioned to look for things. So that is the challenge here in Vedanta. Hey, the looker is Atma. If you look and say, I point to your heart and say the Atma is in the heart, then you look at the heart. But I want your attention to be on the looker, not on the looked. So if Atma is looked, then the whatever you looked at is not Atma. So if Atma is in the head, then I have localized Atma. This vast Atma, the Shastra is proudly talking about this. Sarva Vyapi Ishvara, Sarva Vyapi Atma. Everything is Atma. And then I have locked it all up and put it in my head. So there might be that orientation. So I will caution anybody that don't try to look for Atma. We still don't know what Atma is. It is just a word that was thrown out there. And so let the teaching take place. let me give the benefit of doubt to the Shastram, and let's see what happens, is one approach I would suggest. So, Nahi jnanena sadrisham pavitram iha vidyate, right? We studied that in one of the chapters in Bhagavad Gita. Tatsvayam yoga samsiddhi kalena atmani vindati. So, kalena, in time that Atma is appreciated, understood. And yeah, so they talk about second point now. I finished that discussion. Second point is heart versus mind. They use that synonymously often. And the author who likes to use the heart always uses the heart, hridayam. And the author who likes to use buddhi will always use buddhi. You know, they say, I think personalities, they say A-type person, B, C, D and all that. And they have different ways of categorizing people. And some are feeling people. Some are thinking people. They say all these things. So maybe there is that also involved, you know, when they express these things. So, so I think I don't take that more seriously than it should be taken. So heart versus mind. Because Atma is all pervasive, Atma cannot be located. So Atma is there in the heart also, Atma is there in the mind also, Atma is there in the stomach also, Atma is there in the bacteria that is there in my stomach also. Okay, that is what I will say. So, okay, now it's already 7:45 in the morning here. So pretty late for some of you. So any other, I think there's some chat questions were there. And Panduji has asked a question. So I think I will suggest that you ask this question again next class. So we give enough time for everybody. It's already been almost 1 hour and 45 minutes. So let's conclude with the prarthana. Om swasti prajabhyah paripalayantam nyayena margena mahim mahishaah Gobhrahmanebhyah shubhamastu nityam lokas samastas sukhino bhavantu kale varshatu parjanyah prithvi sasya shalini deshoyam shobharahitah brahmana santu nirbhayah Om sarve bhavantu sukhinah sarve santu niramayah sarve bhadrani pashyantu Ma kaschit dukkha bhag bhavet asato ma sadgamaya tamaso ma jyotirgamaya mrityor ma amritangamaya Om purnamadah purnamidam purnat purnamudachyate purnasya purnamadaya purnamevavashishyate Om Shanti 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 Harihi Om Shri Gurubhyo Namaha Harihi Om